when it comes to AEW re-signing MJF, in his own words, literally says, I'm not signing shit. And we're going to talk about that in depth. I think MJF is up to something, and it could be a very good thing for AEW. Also, in addition to that, Sting has applied for a very interesting trademark, and just like Cesaro applying for a trademark, I think something cool might be coming out of this. And then, of course, we got to talk about WWE making WrestleMania changes this late in the game. And I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents, like I always do. I keep you updated with everything happening in pro wrestling 7 days a week. I read the sheets so you don't have to. I give you guys my opinions, my analysis on the breaking news that is happening every single day in pro wrestling. And feel free to weigh in on the conversation, whether it's in the comments or the Discord. I would love to hear from you. Now, with that being said, WWE is reportedly moving Edge and AJ Styles from night 2 to night 1. Now, you might be wondering, Ango, why the hell are you even talking about this? Well, as of late, if you watch the Ango show live immediately after Raw and SmackDown and NXT, well, you know that I have actually been enjoying WWE as of late, right? Which is shocking because, I mean, good thing you can go back like 1,000 videos and see when I like and hate WWE. But as of now, I'm starting to enjoy a little bit more of it. It's not perfect. It's got its flaws. But lately, I find myself enjoying it a little bit more. And I mentioned this on the Ango show. You know, I've kind of removed my expectations from wrestling. And that includes AEW. That includes Impact and New Japan. I don't really have expectations anymore. When you have expectations, you set yourself up for disappointment. So I try to disconnect from these expectations. And WWE moving Edge and AJ Styles to night 1 pretty much confirms that WWE is going to move forward with Omos versus Lashley and Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, which would be expected to be on night 2 anyways. Now, even though I have been joining WWE as of late, I can confidently tell you guys on video that I think WrestleMania's build has actually been one of the weakest builds ever. And it's a difficult situation for WWE, and I think a lot of people need to start realizing, like, WWE and AEW are in such a tricky situation. You know, I see the people that they talk about AEW and WWE, like the attendance numbers and all of these different things, but WWE and AEW are rebounding from the pandemic that literally shut them down. And I do think wrestling fans tend to forget that. Now, I'm not using it as an excuse for WWE or AEW to put out a good or a bad product. I'm not using it for a reason, but WWE having 60,000 tickets sold or whatever it may be compared to a fully sold out stadium, there's a reason that WWE is not filling it up. And I don't believe it's entirely based on the bad product. I think to a certain extent it is, but there's a lot of circumstances going on in the world right now where I don't think a lot of people would be comfortable traveling. Now, with that being said, WWE's build hasn't been necessarily the greatest build, but there are a lot of matches that I'm actually excited about. Like, you know, Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin to me is just ridiculous. Like, it doesn't need to be a WrestleMania match, and that's why it's on night 1. You know, Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, it's the match I have no expectations for, but it's probably going to be good. The Usos versus Boogs and Nakamura, it's like, I don't know if I care necessarily. Obviously, I care about Pat McAfee and Austin Theory. I surprisingly care about Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn because I follow the social media stuff. RK Bro versus Street Profits versus Alpha Academy has potential to absolutely steal the show. Reigns and Lesnar, obviously, it's happened a million times. We've seen it before. What are they going to do differently this time? That's the real question. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, that's a massive match. Just to see the entrance alone is like mind-boggling me. But yeah, you know, my 2 cents is this. Night 1 is definitely weak. Night 2 is definitely stacked. I am excited about Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I hope it leads to something more than just Stone Cold brawling around for a few minutes. But WrestleMania this year is just not... The build hasn't gotten me excited. I'm excited to watch WrestleMania, but it hasn't gotten me excited about the progression of the show or anything like that. It just kind of exists. It's just kind of happening, and it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Sting has filed for a new trademark, very interestingly enough. Sting filed to trademark his signature face paint design for merchandise, energy drink, and entertainment services. Now, this is very, very interesting because when a trademark goes out, right, you typically see the hats, the shirts, the bandanas, the sweaters, the action figures, accessories. With Cesaro, we saw that Cesaro filed for a trademark CSRO, and that was also for coffee beans. And we talked about that, and I thought that was a very interesting decision. With Sting doing energy drinks, that is like coming out of left field. Like, I don't know what is happening here. Now, I love the idea and I've mentioned this before, right? Like CM Punk ice cream bars. Like I wish these types of things were like sold in stores every single day. Like you could go to a market and just buy food that is licensed by pro wrestlers. Like I think it's a massive business win for pro wrestling. I think it's a massive win. You know, I talked about WWE opening those ghost kitchens for WrestleMania weekend, and I said AEW should do the same thing, right? And like, if Sting is going to release an energy drink or something, I'm not sure what the hell it's going to be, but I would be very curious to see what it looks like. By the way, Sting has the best face paint in all of pro wrestling. And I know a lot of people love Darby Allin. I love Darby Allin too. But I think Sting's face paint is just so iconic, and it's just literally so incredible. I can actually see that on like a black and white can, you know, kind of like a, what is it, like a 16-ounce monster can. Like, I don't drink energy drinks. I never have. I never liked energy drinks. But it would be really interesting to like walk into a Meijer or a Kroger or a Walmart or a Target or something, and like when you go to the end cap, you just see an AEW Sting energy drink, right? Like that would be very interesting to me, and I think that would actually be a big win for pro wrestling in general, just to see pro wrestling continue to push that envelope of that mainstream like connection, that direct to consumer base. Yeah, energy drinks containing caffeine, energy drinks enhanced with vitamins, minerals, or nutrients, non-alcoholic drinks, namely energy shots. Like, what is Sting working on? I don't know. I find it incredibly interesting. And is AEW involved? I wonder what's going to happen. All right, guys, MJF. This man is something else. MJF is literally, he is the man. Okay, so I want to talk about this. MJF was talking to Ariel Helwani, just in general, a nice little interview, a lot of questions, a lot of stuff being brought up. And one of the things that kind of was brought up was like the interest from WWE. And MJF loves WWE. He goes in, you know, it's kind of like what MJF said about Roman Reigns before, right? But MJF was like, you know, he kind of talks back about his time with Bruce Pritchard in MLW. He loves Bruce Pritchard. He recalls, Pritchard was floored by me, absolutely enamored by me. I was like the prettiest girl of the ball. I love Bruce. I think he's hell of a guy and has a hell of a mind. I think he produces incredible television. MJF is also a big fan of what WWE is doing. I think WWE is doing great. I love everything WWE is doing. I just think we're fresh, and we have fresh faces that people haven't seen before. That's obviously in reference to AEW. Now, what's really crazy is on the potential idea of re-signing with AEW, you know, he pretty much is remaining adamant that he is going to test free agency. When you are as talented and over as me and much of a draw as me, if I want, I could bite all of Tony Khan's fingers. He knows where his bread is buttered. If that offended somebody in the locker room, and I know it does, oh well, cry about it. Get more over than me. Oh wait, that's right, you can't. I'm literally the best talker in the history of the business. I'm one of the best wrestlers in the business, bell to bell. And look, this is incredible stuff, but I want to point on this too, because he said something else. When asked if signing potentially early with AEW, like re-signing or something, he says, "I'm not signing shit. No shot. It's not a test if you know you're going to win. I got the cheat code. I got the answers on a piece of paper. No, that's not something I consider unless the number was absolutely astronomical. But even then, I'm sure I'd not consider it." Look, when it comes to MJF, I think this is the thing. Like, MJF is going to praise WWE. He does. He constantly praises WWE's product. He said something about the makeout session from NXT 2.0, and whether or not these are MJF's true feelings, literally, like, he's always in character, which makes it fun and hilarious to see him do this. But if you really think about it, it's actually kind of genius for MJF personally. Remove AEW and WWE out of the equation. This guy is already a massive draw. He talks like he's even a bigger draw than normal, than bigger and better than ever. So what does he do? He keeps talking about how good WWE is, and he keeps saying, you know, he's the hottest free agent and whatnot. You know, I think at this point, he's intentionally getting AEW and WWE in a bidding war, which is fantastic. But also at the same time, too, does MJF really have an intention to not stay with AEW? Like, I wouldn't believe that. You know, based on these comments, you might think like, oh, he's not going to actually stay. I think what MJF is doing is basically doing business for himself, saying like, look, like, I'm going to make sure everybody knows I'm the biggest topic in wrestling. I'm going to make sure everybody knows that I want to get the bag. I'm going to make the money, and Tony Khan and Vince McMahon are going to have to pay a lot for it. I do expect Vince McMahon to have a big offer for MJF. I just don't see MJF leaving AEW. And I don't see MJF working in WWE either. You know, he has the freedom in AEW, and I think that's what makes him so special. I don't know if WWE can do that, but you never know. You never know. You never know. Obviously, he does that. He does have that history with Bruce Pritchard, so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.